Thank you for joining us today for the Georgia Department of Transportation's I-285, I-20 East Interchange Virtual Industry Forum. This pre-recorded presentation, along with a list of registered viewers, will be made available on the P3 page of Georgia DOT's website in the next 24 hours. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our Commissioner, Russell McMurray.
Thank you for attending the I-285 at I-20 East Interchange Industry Forum. Hello, I'm Russell McMurray, the Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Transportation. The health and safety of our employees, you as the private sector, and of course the public is our number one goal during this unprecedented time. And that is why this industry forum is being pre-recorded. Today our goal is to share with you important information about the 285 at I-20 East Interchange reconstruction project, also share with you our current posture for COVID-19. Now it is my pleasure to provide the speakers for today's forum. Meg Perkle, Chief Engineer for the Georgia Department of Transportation, will discuss the project in detail. Chris Tomlinson, the Executive Director of the State Road and Tollway Authority, will discuss the contracting structure between GDOT and the State Road and Tollway Authority. Angela Whitworth, Treasurer of the Georgia Department of Transportation, will discuss project funding and finance. Chip Meeks, P3 Procurement Director, will discuss the procurement, schedule, and important information you need to know. Daryl Van Meter, Assistant P3 Director, will discuss the disclaimer that always comes with these industry forums and important information before we depart. Today is a great day, so let me take a moment to give you an overview of where we are on this MMIP. The Georgia Department of Transportation is committed to continuing to deliver the MMIP as well as our other critical transportation infrastructure projects across the state. In fact, all pre-construction activities for our PMC and GECs for the MMIP are still underway. Georgia DOT is not a cash flow state. In fact, we still have full appropriations for fiscal year 20, and our budget instructions for fiscal year 21 is that we take a 14% budget reduction. However, this does not impact the delivery of this project nor the MMIP, of which most of all the larger capital outlays happen in later years. In fact, we're seeing some good trends now as traffic volumes are beginning to increase over where they were just a few weeks ago. The MMIP certainly represents a long-term investment in some of Georgia's most needed transportation projects. In fact, I tell people the MMIP is really about mobility for Georgia, both people and freight. And this 285 at I-20 East Interchange reconstruction project certainly does both. In fact, the American Transportation Research Institute ranks the top 100 bottlenecks across the nation, and this interchange happens to be number 24, and this project certainly will rectify that. The MMIP was really born from several planning documents, such as the Managed Lane Implementation Plan, the Georgia Freight and Logistics Plan, other planning documents, and other known transportation needs from across this entire state. We couple that with our financial plan, working with our financial advisors, and ran multiple scenarios and iterations to come up with the project portfolio that exists today. And I think you can see that this mix of projects certainly does move people and freight across Georgia. But we wanted to make sure that we had the right portfolio. So we had Cambridge Systematics do an analysis of this project portfolio to see what the return on investment was. In fact, we see $2 billion increase in gross state product. We see $1 billion in personal income growth. We see 13,600 jobs, not construction jobs, grow, as well as a 5% overall reduction delay for the entire state. Now, 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but considering normally there's 330 million vehicle miles traveled in Georgia every day, that's significant. And of course, each project has even more benefits, such as this East Interchange project, which provides a 30% reduction in the future. We knew that with this portfolio of projects, we would have to deliver them through the Innovative Contracting Toolbox. The MMIP is being delivered through the P3 division under the direction of Mr. Joe Carpenter, and also under the Office of Innovative Delivery with Daryl Van Meter. So let's take a look at this project portfolio mix on the next slide. This slide shows the MMIP portfolio by project type. We've really valued industry input as it relates to the MMIP and have taken your words and information into consideration. In fact, you can see that the original 11 projects are now increased by 6. Part of our response to the industry was to try to lessen risk where we could. These 6 accelerated projects were all components of the 285 express lane projects. They include replacing bridges and overpasses, doing some auxiliary lane work in advance, and also bridges over the railroad, again, to try to lessen some of the risk. These 6 projects will be delivered through traditional design build, so stay tuned for more opportunities in the future. This slide shows where the projects are located by project type. I'm very excited that 3 of these projects are already underway now. And I think you can see the gravity of how big the MMIP is, certainly from a system express lane approach, as well as taking on key freight bottlenecks and improving mobility for all of Georgia. Georgia DOT has considered the best delivery method based on the state's objectives. In fact, we've considered design build finance, design build finance maintain, design build finance operate and maintain, all with no revenue risk. Looking at projects delivery, there's really 3 important things. Timing. We have to be aggressive but reasonable in looking at project schedules for critical path items. One of the largest ones are the environmental document process, or the NEPA process. And we're very fortunate to have a great partnership with our Federal Highway Administration Division here in Atlanta. And we're very excited that we're working through the one federal decision process on our top end 285 projects. So we're trying to take advantage of all possible ways to streamline and provide a quality NEPA document on all projects, including this one. Project size and complexity certainly drive schedules, and we have to take in consideration all the risk factors and the scope and size of the work as we schedule the projects as well. I think you'll find that Georgia DOT really does want to take a fair and equitable approach to risk, and we welcome your dialogue as we move forward into one-on-ones. Funding. Of course, all projects have to be funded, and that certainly has an impact on the deliverability of projects. I think you can see by looking at our State Transportation Improvement Program or the Atlanta Regional Commission's Transportation Improvement Program, we have funding allocated for these projects now in the short term and also in our long-range transportation plans. And lastly, but not last, is innovation. We're very excited to see what alternative technical concepts you bring forward to continue to innovate and drive Georgia forward. This slide illustrates the different project delivery methods for the MMIP, including a cost range that excludes right-of-way. As you can see, we have design build finance, where we intend to pay back the developer 5 years or less post-construction, and design build finance maintain. Please note that Georgia DOT and CERTA has elected to maintain our own operations, so there is not an operational component anticipated at this time. I wanted to affirm once again that the MMIP is moving forward. In fact, we just awarded the next phase of the I-85 General Purpose Lane Expansion Project, I-85 Phase 2, recently. So we're very excited that the MMIP still moves forward. You can see from this slide, these are the GECs working on all the projects in the MMIP, of which pre-construction funding has already been authorized. So work will continue. It's been a great opportunity to share with you some information today about where the Georgia Department of Transportation is with the MMIP, sort of where we are with COVID-19, but more importantly, tee up this conversation for why you're here today, the 285 at I-20 East Interchange. It is my pleasure to introduce Meg Perkle, Chief Engineer for the Georgia Department of Transportation, to talk to you about the project details specifically. Thank you, Meg.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to all of our viewers for watching today. The I-285 I-20 interchange on the east side of Atlanta is one of the most congested interchanges in the metro Atlanta region. The American Transportation Research Institute ranks it as the 25th worst freight bottleneck in the entire nation. And with about 400,000 vehicles per day traveling through this interchange, you can see how that's the case. This volume is only projected to increase by about 30 to 50% by year 2048, and about 11% of this volume is freight volume. This project will alleviate this congestion by adding capacity, providing enhanced roadway operations, and making geometric improvements. As you can see on the graphical image of this project, there's going to be a lot going on around and at this interchange. So let me walk you through what some of these improvements are. This project will construct new ramps from I-20 westbound to I-285 northbound and southbound, as well as from I-285 southbound to I-20 eastbound. This project will also widen the ramp on I-20 eastbound to I-285 northbound from 1 to 2 lanes. The project will construct a westbound collector distributor system from Wesley Chapel Road to the interchange at I-285, as well as construct one westbound auxiliary lane between Lithonia Industrial Boulevard and Wesley Chapel Road. The project will construct one eastbound auxiliary lane from Panola Road to the Lithonia Industrial Boulevard. It will also extend auxiliary lanes on I-285 northbound and I-20 eastbound in the CD lanes. There will also be some bridges that are reconstructed as part of this project to accommodate the new auxiliary and CD lanes. So construction is scheduled to start in 2022 and anticipated to be open to traffic in 2025. So let's talk a little bit about the renderings that we show here. You can see these snapshots are taken from our project visualization, which is available on the project website at majormobilityga.com. A link is also provided later in this presentation. These snapshots show an illustrative representation of the I-285 I-20 interchange, the new auxiliary lanes on I-285, the proposed bridge at Miller Road, and CD lanes on I-20. These are the same images that were shown at our public information meetings held late last year. All concept plans are available on the project webpage as well. The delivery method for this project is proposed to be a design-build-finance model. The estimated design and construction cost is anticipated to be between $350 and $450 million, and the assumed design and construction period is around 42 months. There has been a robust stakeholder and community engagement with the Major Mobility Investment Program, with over 300 meetings that have taken place in the past couple of years. On this project specifically, there have been over 40 engagement meetings with stakeholders, as well as a series of public information open houses that occurred late last year. We continue to regularly engage with our key stakeholders throughout the project development process. This timeline shows key milestone activities related to the project. We are currently preparing our first draft of the RFP. We are getting ready for early right-of-way acquisition, and we'll be holding public hearings for NEPA later this year. This chart shows the management team for the project, led by GDOT as the owner and key decision maker. The State Roadway and Tollway Authority is responsible for the contracting and payments, and Chris Tomlinson from CERTA will speak to this a little bit later. There are firms on both the PMC and the OVF teams who are conflicted out, and the full list of these teams is available on the P3 webpage at GDOT's website. For this project, about 42 parcels of right-of-way will need to be acquired. 24 of those will be acquired by GDOT pre-let, and about 18 will be acquired by the developer post-let. We anticipate, and our goal is to have 12 of the GDOT acquired parcels well into the acquisition process when we issue the final RFP. And acquisition will continue throughout the RFP process with a date certain identified in the RFP. The project agreement will require the developer to acquire certain properties, and for these, the developer will provide right-of-way acquisition services, and parcel payments will be made by CERTA and GDOT, and they'll be acquired in GDOT's name. We're assuming at this point that the side street parcels on Miller and Farrington DeKalb Medical Parkway will be the post-let acquired parcels. In order to ensure a successful delivery of our P3 program, we look beyond traditional risk allocation. It may be a better value for the department to retain some risk rather than delegate it to the developer. We work off the basic philosophy that we assign the risk to the entity best able to manage that risk. That philosophy is applied consistent with Georgia law, which is inherently restrictive in terms of risk items like geotechnical and utilities. GDOT will actively identify and work to relocate high-risk utilities prior to completion of the procurement to reduce the risk to the developer. We are always trying to understand risk sharing and better want an open dialogue with our industry partners. GDOT will remain active during the developer's design and construction periods and will help facilitate and resolve issues with utility providers and companies as they arise to help reduce the risk to the developer. The DBE goal has not yet been stated for this project, but it will be included in the RFQ and RFP documents. And DBE coordination is already well underway, and with recent transition to virtual meetings, the DBE group has responded well, shifting their in-person workshops and boot camps to a virtual format, and these have been well attended and well received. Georgia is focused on quality projects. The delivery model shown here requires the developer to be responsible for quality through the final design and construction. We are working with a different quality model than what we use on our current design build program. But this is how you, as the developer, will ensure that we get a quality product in all of your deliverables, 100%. The owner's verification firm will be inspecting about 10% of your work, and it may depend on, higher or lower levels in different areas of work depending on the risk allocation to that area. But working together, we can ensure that we get a quality product. The construction quality assurance firm and design quality assurance firm do not have to be separate firms, and that's not excluded in Section 3 of the RFP. So at this point, I'd like to conclude my description of our project and some of our procurement here, and I'd like to invite Chris Tomlinson from the State Road and Tollway Authority, he's the Executive Director, to speak about the contracting structure that will be applied to the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. I'm Chris Tomlinson, the Executive Director of Georgia State Road and Tollway Authority, and I'd like to thank you for your interest in this project. At this time, I'd like to provide you with an overview of the contractual framework for the I-285, I-20 East Interchange project. Georgia has developed a specific contracting structure for its Transportation P3 projects, which defines the roles and relationships between CERTA, GDOT, and the developer. Within this framework, CERTA's role is to serve as a contracting and payment conduit for the project. To establish its role, there are 3 key agreements between CERTA and GDOT. First, there's an estate for years. This document grants CERTA with certain required property interests in the project so that it can fulfill its obligations on the project. Second is an intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, that defines the roles and relationships between CERTA and GDOT during the development and construction phases of the project. This document also specifies GDOT as the overall project manager of the project. And third, there's an annual funding MOU which provides the legal agreement by which funds will flow from GDOT to CERTA for payments to the developer during the post-construction and ongoing operational phase of the project. Collectively, these 3 agreements enable CERTA to meet the terms and conditions that will be set forth in the contract or project agreement between CERTA and the selected developer. The project agreement is the binding legal agreement that will set forth the invoicing and payment terms and performance obligations of the developer. GDOT remains the project owner and manages the oversight of the project. GDOT will do this utilizing the program management staff, its project management consultant, and owner's verification firms. This structure has been successfully used in both of Georgia's previous Transportation P3 projects. I'd now like to invite Georgia's Treasurer, Angela Whitworth, to speak about the I-285, I-20 East Interchange project funding. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Angela Whitworth, and I'm the Treasurer for the Georgia Department of Transportation. I'm here today to lay out the funding and financing considerations for the 285-20 interchange project, starting with the funding available to the developer. Given that GDOT will not have all the project funding available during the construction period, the developer will be required to finance the gap between the design and construction cost and the program funds available to the developer during construction. GDOT intends to make developer payments both during construction and in the years after substantial completion. The payment terms will be refined during the procurement process, and we would welcome feedback from the industry regarding ways to make the financing requirements as efficient as possible. GDOT has also programmed funding for the project's agency costs, which will be retained by GDOT. All projects' costs, including the developer payments, will be funded through a combination of both federal funds and state motor fuel tax revenue. Funding is and will be fully programmed in both the Atlanta regions, TIP and STIP. Currently expect the mechanics of the payment structure to be similar in nature to GDOT's 285-400 project. During the construction period, GDOT will review and certify construction progress on a monthly basis. Upon GDOT's monthly review and certification, GDOT will provide developer with an approved project certificate that may be redeemed for payment as funds are available in accordance with the design-build finance agreement. The actual size and schedule of payments will be made available and be refined prior to the procurement, but we currently anticipate making approximately $175 million available to the developer during construction, with the balance of the required funding made available in up to 5 years after substantial completion and paid on a semi-annual basis. The developer may present, sell, assign, and/or pledge such certificates to lenders, including as security for any developer financing. Our current assumption is therefore that this may be set up as a receivable financing so that lenders will not be exposed to construction risk. We welcome and encourage feedback on any aspect of this contemplated structure and payment approach, particularly if there are any opportunities to make it more efficient for both the state and the industry. I will now turn it over to Chip Meeks to go over the procurement process.
Hi, my name is Chip Meeks. I'm the P3 Procurement Manager for the Georgia Department of Transportation. Today I'm going to review the procurement schedule for this project and provide you information about the request for qualifications and the request for proposals. As we look at the schedule, please keep in mind that this shows a two-step procurement process. We will be utilizing a best value selection methodology, which will result in a design-build finance agreement. So I'm just going to hit some of the highlights of the schedule for you. First, GDOT issued the Notice of Intent to Advertise on April the 13th. The industry forum is held on May the 13th, and one-on-one meetings will be on May the 13th through the 15th. The RFQ will be issued on July the 1st via the Georgia Procurement Registry. A link to the registry will be provided at the end of this presentation. The restriction of communication will also begin on that day, as you can see. The guidance on communication will be found in the RFQ document. SOQs will be due on September the 3rd. The shortlist will be announced on October the 27th, and then the draft RFP will be issued to the shortlisted proposers in November. Proposals will be due in the third quarter of 2021, and the selection of the apparent best value proposer should be in that same quarter as well. The RFQ is step one in the procurement process, and GDOT anticipates shortlisting 3 to 5 firms based on the highest scores of the combined technical and financial submittals. The technical submittal will include the team qualifications, technical capabilities and experience, along with their past performance. And I'll talk a little bit more about past performance in just a few moments. The financial evaluation criteria will focus first on financial capacity and ability, which will be assessed based on the firm's financial strength and ability to secure financing for a project of this scale. Consideration will also be given to experience in structuring and financing projects of similar scope and complexity. Second, on the firm's financial approach and understanding, which will be evaluated based on the firm's demonstrated understanding of issues related to the development of a financial plan for this project. GDOT will be working to maximize the pool of competitive bidders for this project and understands that experience in financing similar DBF type projects is not widespread, given few precedent projects in the market. GDOT will be taking this point into account as it formulates the evaluation criteria for this project. As I mentioned earlier, past performance is very important to GDOT. The department will undertake a rigorous but fair evaluation of past performance and utilize this evaluation in the scoring of the SOQs. Reference checks, sometimes called past performance verification, will fall into a couple of categories for the firms. The first will be nominated projects. These are projects that the proposer put forth as their best representation on their work on similar projects. The second type is disclosed projects. These are additional projects that GDOT considers pertinent to determining the most highly qualified firms. Also, an in-depth verification process will be completed for key personnel put forth in the SOQs. Look for more details with respect to the past performance and reference checks in the RFQ. Now let's take a look at step 2 of the procurement process, the request for proposal. The technical proposal may include various project management plans, design-build technical proposals, and alternate technical concepts, construction sequencing and traffic management plans, and an approach to the right-of-way. The financial proposal will be subject to a validity period, and GDOT understands that financing commitments cannot be held indefinitely. But the financial proposal may include the firm fixed price for the project, fully committed financing, construction security package, and a proposal security package. We've streamlined the RFP and made some advancements since some of our more recent P3 procurements. There still will be the instructions to proposer, which will provide guidance to the teams on constructing their proposals. We previously had 3 volumes, but now we have 2. Volume 2 and 3 have now been combined into just Volume 2. As you see there will be reference information documents, or RIDs, but they are not part of the RFP, and they will be made available to all proposers for review. And just as a side note, Ballard Spahr is our legal advisor and is helping with the RFP and procurement. Lastly, this slide is to give an overview of the RFP process. As we saw on the schedule, GDOT will issue the first draft RFP in November of this year and anticipates issuing a second draft RFP in January of 2021. During the draft RFP phases, GDOT will participate in one-on-one meetings with the shortlisted teams in order to review and clarify the RFP. During this time also, GDOT will accept alternate technical concepts. A final RFP will then be issued, and the shortlisted teams will submit their proposals. They will include a technical proposal and a firm fixed pricing secured by proposal bond with committed financing. And a more specific schedule for these activities will be included in the RFP. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Daryl Van Meter.
Good morning. I'm Daryl Van Meter, the Assistant P3 Division Director. I'd like to thank you for joining us today to learn more about the I-285 I-20 East Interchange project, PI number 0013915. We're excited to proceed into the next phase of this project. Today's presentation included information about the project's anticipated scope, anticipated procurement process, and potential risks. Any information provided in this presentation should be considered informational only and is subject to change. We will be holding one-on-one meetings today through May 15. However, if you have any questions, you may contact Chip Meeks, the P3 Procurement Manager, through the email address on this slide. More procurement information is available on GDOT's P3 page on our website. You may view the project visualization that Meg mentioned at the website listed on this slide as well, or simply visit the project webpage. A link to the Georgia Procurement Registry is also listed for you to view the Notice of Intent. Now, thank you again for joining us, and please stay safe.